Infection rates in the summer in the north, the embers were burning bright before the students went back to university. We had a problem in the north before this. We should have got testing and tracing fixed. That would have been how we resolved it. But the government didn't listen to us. They didn't listen to Andy Burnham on that.
OK, 10 p.m. curfew. You're saying that's the right thing to do and we should shut more pubs, clubs, restaurants. But I was looking at the figures for Bolton. Bolton did that. They only had takeaway and their figures still went up.
Yeah. What the scientists would say, and this was the same in Leicester, is that it actually stopped the acceleration in the rise. And if they hadn't have done that, figures would have gone up much further. And we had the same in Leicester. The pubs were shut in Leicester for a few weeks as well, and it did have an impact. And if they hadn't done that, you know, I mean, the infections are still bad in Bolton. I'm not saying they're not, but they would have been even worse. That's what the scientists would say if they were.
OK, so there are more people testing positive. There are, sadly, more people dying. We have to, at some stage, say, you know what, we need to live with this virus, or do we need to continue on with these measures until we have a vaccine?
I think we've got... I know it's really difficult for people watching, and it's difficult for my mum.
Well, it's more than difficult. Some people are killing themselves.
I mean, the mental health impact of this is awful. My mum lives on her own in Urmston. I know how difficult it is. I know how heartbreaking it is if you're in Bury or Bolton or Burnley and you've not been able to see a loved one in a care home. But this virus is really dangerous. We're seeing more and more people on ventilation now, again. And there's lots of people who...
It's dangerous as cancer.
That is true. But that's why you cannot allow your National Health Service to get overwhelmed. It's why we've got to make sure that the mobilisation of our NHS to do cancer care, to do heart valve treatments, to do elective operations, we've got to keep that going. Earlier in the year, all that was put on hold, and now we've got a situation where 111,000 people are waiting beyond 12 months for an operation. It was 1,600 in January. So that's why I would say, to be honest, if that means closing the pubs, if that is something you can do to try and stop this virus getting out of control, keep your children in school, keep the NHS going, then I would support that in parts of the country.
But I would say in response to that, on behalf of my viewers, closing pubs isn't just so that people can't have a drink or whatever. It's 1.3 million people are employed in the nighttime industry in the United Kingdom. That's 1.3 million jobs that are at risk at the moment. It's not just a matter of people going for a drink after work or whatever. It's a matter of people's livelihoods. At the end of this month, I know a new scheme has come in, but a lot of jobs will be lost. We've got the new figures out now. It's about 20,000 up, but it's still 750,000 people who've lost their jobs, 4 million people potentially by the end of this pandemic. We need to do something to support them as well.
Absolutely, and that's why I get so angry about the government's handling of this. And when I get angry, you know, people will tweet me and say, how dare, you know, why are you having a go at the government and all that, and they'll send me emails saying, why are you having a go at them? But I do get angry with the government because on the one hand, you know, they're saying that they won't give these pubs, they won't give this sector the support that it needs, and on the other hand, they're saying it should close. I want them to
get... How are they going to pay for it?
Well, look, we've got... I mean, we're dealing
Seriously, how are they going to pay for it?
This is unprecedented times.
Yeah, but
every country around the world is grappling with this and it's having to support its economy.
Yeah, but at the moment, people who are watching don't care what's happening in the rest of the world. They care about their job at the end of October.
And that's why the government have got to step in. They've got to pay the wages. They've got to look at the furlough schemes that they had earlier in the year. They've got to look at business support schemes. We've got to get the, you know, that eviction ban. You know, people can be evicted again. In the run up to Christmas, are we going to be evicting people?
80% of people are asymptomatic. They don't even know they have COVID-19.
Well, there's differences of opinion. The scientists can't even agree on the 80% figure, but you're right, there is asymptomatic people out there, which is why we need more mass testing.
Significant number of asymptomatic
yes, I agree.
people.
Yeah, which is why we should be testing all frontline NHS staff. That's really important.
The majority of people that are succumbing to COVID-19 are in the over 65 age group. But nevertheless, people who are of working age, particularly younger people, are finding themselves facing they don't know what. And some of them are taking their own lives.
I know, it's absolutely horrendous. And the mental health impact of this worries me. It worries me immensely.
But as a politician, you have to accept some responsibility of what happens next.
Well, as a politician, I am doing my best to speak up every day and make these points in the House of Commons and pressure the government. And when I pressure the government, when I criticise the government, I'm not doing it because I want them to sort of fail in order to score some political advantage. I'm doing it because I know we've got to improve our national response. We've got one of the highest death rates in the world. We've got people with illness not getting treatment. We've got loved ones not able to see their mums or their grandmothers in care homes. And we've got people really worried about their jobs in the run-up to Christmas. I just don't think Boris Johnson and the government have put in place the measures that we need to get through this and support families in Bury and Bolton.
Do you have any sympathy for this government as far as COVID?
On a personal level, of course I have sympathy for any politician grappling with this. Of course I do. And, you know, as I say, when I come on here and I criticise Matt Hancock, he's the Health Secretary, as you know, and Boris Johnson, I don't do it because...
I know him very well.
I don't do it
He's often sat where you are.
Is he? He doesn't go on all the TV shows, does he?
Not my problem.
No, but, you know, I don't do it because I want to sort of, you know, throw stones at them. I do it because I want them to improve, because all of us have an interest in defeating this virus. We've got to defeat this virus. And sadly, we've got a long way to go until that vaccine is available. We hope it's available next year. The scientists think it will. But, you know, this is going to be a tough 6 months. We've got to support jobs. We've got to look at how we can reduce social interaction. And we've got to make sure we keep our children in school and support families who are trying to do the right thing. OK,
just before I let you go, thoughts on Matt Hancock's joke about Public Health England and the...
Sure we keep our children in school and support families. It's going to be a tough 6 months. We've got to support jobs. We've got to look at how we can reduce social interaction, and we've got to make sure we keep our children in school and support families who are trying to do the right thing. OK, just before I let you go, thoughts on Matt Hancock's joke about Public Health England in the bar of the House of Commons last week, where he basically made fun of the fact that Public Health England was not handling the pandemic as well as it might. Well, I mean, I think he's apologised for it, I think. And, you know, it was probably a bit tasteless, but, you know, it's... I think he said he's sorry, and I'm going to leave it there.
Are you? A lot of people very frustrated and angry about it. Especially those people that we've just been talking about who are suffering as a result of this pandemic and the failures of Public Health England.
I'm frustrated with Matt Hancock because we've not got testing and tracing fixed. He should give it to the local public health directors, not to these firms like Serco who are making a mess of it. I'm frustrated that we haven't got the measures in place to really suppress this virus. I mean, I'm going to be focusing on those issues in the House of Commons today. Yeah, I'm not going to focus on him, on his daft jokes. I mean, he's not very funny, is he? He probably shouldn't tell jokes.
Interesting way to end it. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. You'll be in the House of Commons later on, and of course we will cover that for our viewers on Sky News. For now, thanks very much indeed. We're chatting actually to Robert Jenrick.